Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at a game that was sent in from, Citadel Me Harder Daddy from the CUTIE clan on the NA server. And he's playing in the Tier 9 Premium American Large Cruiser, the Alaska, and he's playing by himself, and it's some domination on the recently renovated map, Okinawa. So if you'd like to send a replay into us, please send it to BIAworldofwarships, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Please include the replay file, post-game screenshots if you have them, a brief description of the battle, and then if you'd like myself or put in to do the commentary, you can request for that as well. So we've featured the Alaska a couple times in the last few weeks. Puddin put up his gameplay, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and then I put up mine about a week ago as well. But we wanted to feature one more replay in the Alaska so that you guys could have 3 good recent replays of this ship on our channel. So if you wanted to watch them again, or maybe you were trying to decide if you wanted to buy it yourself or whatnot, you can have some good video gameplay of this ship so you can make your decision. Now, we all know that the Alaska is a cruiser by designation, but it certainly feels more like a pocket battleship in that regard. It has over 300 millimeter guns for its main battery, firepower, and with the large caliber comes pretty significant alpha strike, as we're going to see here on this very first salvo of the game. Unfortunately, only one Citadel on the Mogami, but he still managed to do 13,600, which, sure, at point-blank range, a Des Moines or a Hindenburg could do that. But at these extended ranges, this is where ships like the Graf Spee, the Alaska, the Azuma, with the really large cruiser caliber kind of guns, are able to deal pseudo or even sometimes battleship levels of damage with the armor piercing. And of course, because it's an American cruiser, it also has the better armor piercing angles to boot. So instead of a 30-degree angle for the auto bounce, it can go all the way down to 22.5, which basically makes trying to angle and use all of your gun power against an Alaska very, very difficult, if not outright impossible, especially at point-blank ranges. The Alaska also has a heal, 60,800 hit points to boot. The ship has pretty good AA. The maneuverability and the concealment, of course, do lag behind equal tier and above tier counterparts, but that is to be expected on a ship that is as large as this thing. And basically, it's a good medium to longish range ship where you want to get somewhat close to the cap. Kind of think of it like, I guess, maybe like a Kronstadt or a Moskva. You don't want to get in too close. But that medium to longish range combat where your armor is good enough to hold up and you're really able to take advantage of your guns, because of course these aren't rail guns, they do have a bit of shell arc to them, so unless you're shooting HE at max range, you do really want to kind of move in a little bit closer, kind of like where he's at right now. He's well within the sea cap for radar coverage, but the majority of the enemy ships that are next to him are about 13 to 16 kilometers away. That's a pretty good engagement range for the Alaska. Now, unfortunately, no Citadels on that broadside Miyoko, but still about 7,000 damage, which is really good. He did have to get into a kiting position here pretty early, because you can see that although it's an even split down here at the sea cap, 4 ships to 4, unfortunately, it's not looking terribly good right now. He does get about 20,000 damage on the Miyoko with the armor piercing, and that is the kind of damage that you can expect out of an Alaska if you really pump in a good armor piercing salvo and if RNG is nice to you. So with that cruiser taken out of the game by the friendly Fletcher, now it looks like his team is going to have a slight bit of an advantage here on this sea cap. So what I'd like to see right now is for him to get turned around and maybe try to push in and get that Benson under his radar coverage, and it looks like he's getting ready to do that. There's still a Scharnhorst and that Kronstadt that are over in the vicinity, but at this point those ships are quite a bit far away from the cap, so it's not really going to be that big of a deal here. So he's going to take this time to maneuver around and get ready to start pushing into the sea cap, because that Benson needs to get dislodged before they're going to be able to move back up towards the B area. And based off of where his friendlies are being deployed right now in the vicinity of the A cap, I think it's safe to say that the enemy team should be able to run amok on those dudes, because they're all camping, hiding behind islands, being scared, and it's not looking really good at this moment. And another pretty decent salvo right there, 5,800 on the broadside Scharnhorst. Again, at maximum range, these guns are pretty floaty. It's nothing new with American heavy cruisers in general, but it's just something that you should take note of. And I just noticed that the Kronstadt is named Wafflesneck. Okay, I'm not sure what that means, but it's a fellow noodle, so I guess I'll call him out here. So Citadel's moving in towards the sea cap again. You can see that the Kagero is actually going around the corner. He's well within the Benson's radar, or he's within radar range of the Benson, I should have said. At 7.5 kilometers, that dude is moving, just, I guess, trying to keep himself behind the island or whatever. The Kagero is really going for it now, so we'll see if he's going to be able to get his torpedo salvo off. The Benson did decide to drop his torpedoes towards Citadel, but that's not going to do anything. He gets the second rack of torpedoes off against the Kagero, and the Kagero does eat one, but Citadel is ready with the high explosive. Unfortunately, some extremely poor dispersion there for a close-range shot on that Benson is going to prevent him from being able to pick up this kill. But the Benson does die, so they now will be able to get and capture this sea point, and based off of what's happening up north, as I mentioned about a minute and a half ago, things are not looking too good for his team, so they're going to really need to get these caps under their control and start getting some points in their favor. So it looks like he's not going to stay in the sea cap. The Miyoko and the Fletcher should be able to take care of it, so he moves out. He's looking for the next shot here. He does have AP loaded on that bow and CNOT, but then you can see that he does have expert loader equipped, and this is a fantastic skill to have on all of the big cruisers in the game, but especially the ones that have, that 15 to 20 second reload like the Alaska does. Really good stuff right there, using the high explosive shot, and now he's going to get into, I guess, a bow-on position and push onto the B-cap with his Fletcher buddy. He does have to be careful because he is in a little bit of a crossfire here. The CNOP doesn't have the best angle, but the Scharnhorst has a decent one. And then, of course, there's that Kronstadt over in the vicinity of the C-cap that still has quite a few hit points to work with and those very deadly rail guns that it has. So he does make the right play, though. Decides to get undetected. Like I mentioned, it's not the best stealth, but 12.2 kilometers is good enough for a ship of this size. So now that he's inside the B-cap, he gets the high explosive loaded and sends some shells downrange at the enemy CNOP. And he actually gets some really good RNG right there and sets a double fire with over 4,000 damage dealt. So right now, the positioning is pretty solid. He is angled completely against the Kronstadt. He's angled very well against the Scharnhorst. And now, because he has those floaty shell arcs, it is a two-edged sword. And you can see that even at 11 kilometers, he's still able to get shots over the corner of the island and hit those targets that are downrange. So definitely showcasing that not all the time is it a bad thing to have the really lobby shell arcs. Unfortunately, he does get reset right there very briefly. The Kronstadt is within his assured detection range, so he's not going to be able to get undetected, unfortunately. But he gets his next salvo going downrange at the Mogami. Another good use of the expert loader skill, and kaboom, huge salvo on that Japanese cruiser. 20,000 and change, double Citadel, devastating strike. Awesome use of the armor piercing once again. And now this CNOP that is pushing in is, well, unfortunately for him, not really going to be able to do too much to the Alaska at this moment. You can also see the Scharnhorst got excellent dispersion, but all those shells basically pinged off of the Alaska's stern and deck armor. So, like I said earlier, it's got good armor, and this angle that he's at against the CNOP, this is perfectly fine. So now, once again, he uses the expert loader to switch to the high explosive, and the next few salvos are certainly going to be at this dude. The Neptune on his team is oblivious? I guess that'd be the right word to what's going on. I'm not sure if he realizes there's a battleship about 6 kilometers off his starboard, but hey man, it's random battles in World of Warships. Really shouldn't surprise anybody. He actually manages to get the kill on that Kronstadt. So yeah, there's some really strange stuff going on right now with that Neptune. In the meantime, Citadel here is just spamming that high explosive, and because it's such high caliber, with the shells that it shoots, it really has no problem whatsoever overmatching. For the most part, if it's funny because there were 5 non-pens right there, but most of the battleships at your tier and below, you're going to have pretty much zero trouble loading that HE and going through the weak bits of their deck, the bow and the stern and whatnot. So you can get some really good high explosive damage with those. Unfortunately, I don't know the armor models of the Russian battleships to memory. I haven't committed them to memory yet, so it appears that he's probably hitting some of the armored parts of the bow, because I know that they're like the Kurfürst, they do have those strips that run up towards the front. But the CNOP is screwed, so it doesn't matter anymore. The Neptune, who carelessly charged into B, actually managed to secure 2 kills right there, as funny as it is. So At this point, Citadel is able to go undetected now, so they will finally be able to get this B capture point. He's going to open fire with the high explosive on the Scharnhorst. He's probably thinking that that guy is going to be a bit distracted by the Neptune, and the Neptune is about ready to kick the bucket here because, you know, why not? There's a whole bunch of nonsense going on in this game, so why not? It almost looked like the Fletcher torpedoed him, as a matter of fact, which is funny enough, but the Scharnhorst manages to get the kill. So unfortunately, that dude is dead, but actually it might not be a bad thing that he's dead at this point because he wasn't really doing much to help the team out. So now he's going bow on towards the Scharnhorst. This is the perfect play to make at this point in time. Just angle towards that AP and he should be good. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to get reset here by the Scharnhorst, maybe before the cap gets taken. And yeah, with 0.8 seconds left, unfortunately, the Scharnhorst shell that did 0 damage and dinged off his deck, unfortunately reset that cap. And now he's got the enemy Kitakaze shooting at him. And, of course, because RNG, the very last rear turret salvo that got over the island actually managed to light a fire on him. So he did decide to use his damage control immediately, but he's actually straying a little bit too far forward. And if that North Carolina is paying attention, he will be able to get broadside shots into Citadel right now. And fortunately, right there was the North Carolina salvo, but he was able to dodge a bit. He's also going to risk here with the Scharnhorst, only being able to utilize the forward guns. He only does 5,000 damage to the Alaska, so unfortunately for that Scharnhorst, he was not able to punish the slight mistake that Citadel made here. But now he's finally going to be able to go bow on towards this North Cow. And while 16-inch guns can overmatch the Alaska, he's in a little bit better position because also the friendly Gneisenau is rushing that North Cow. So that North Carolina is also caught in a little bit of a pickle. If he provides broadside to Citadel, the Alaska AP is able to go right into the side with no problem. But if he decides to engage, or excuse me, if he keeps on engaging Citadel here and keeps his guns turned to this way, that Gneisenau is going to be able to rush him and torpedo him, and that's exactly what Minion 357 is doing. So that's really good. Very fortunately, Citadel was able to dodge that first salvo from the North Carolina that came in, so now he should be okay. He's using his next heal, so unless the North Carolina gets really lucky dispersion, he'll be okay. He also managed to find the Citadel of the North Carolina on his return salvo, right there hitting right underneath the A turret for a very, very meaty salvo of 11,000 damage, showing you those improved AP pen angles and what the Alaska is able to accomplish with them. In the meantime, the Gneisenau got his torpedoes off. Unfortunately, only one hit the North Cow, but he's only on 6,600 hit points, so all this North Carolina or the Gneisenau really needs to do is just hit him with one really nice placed salvo in the superstructure and he'll be dead. Unfortunately, he's not able to do that, but it looks like Citadel is going to get the kill, puts him on 155 HP, and then the Gneisenau actually sets a fire with the secondaries. Unfortunately, at this point, the Alsace and Bodie McBoatface is coming around the corner, but fortunately, Citadel managed to move around just in time, and now the Scharnhorst is at 6,700 hit points, but this is an engagement that the Alaska should win very, very easily, and he shoots a little bit too far ahead, so 2 of the shells do ricochet off of that forward part of the nose, like I talked about earlier with the German and the Soviet battleships having that armored bit. So, unfortunately, he does not manage to get the kill secure there, but again, it's only a matter of time. He's going to be able to kill the Scharnhorst. He really can't angle away from his armor piercing. Bodie McBoatface, in the meantime, managed to kill the friendly Fletcher, who was being a Mongoloid. So now it's down to a 2 versus 2 situation, and there's only 6 minutes left in this game. So the Scharnhorst will die, and then it'll be a 2 versus 1. So, yeah, just a lot of strange things have happened in this replay. You can see right there, he doesn't angle enough, and he does eat a pretty good salvo from the Scharnhorst's rear turret, but now he decides to make the prudent play and load the high explosive, because the Scharnhorst is angling as good as he can, and while his armor piercing is still able to eat into his superstructure, unfortunately, you know, the high explosive would just be a better play in that, because he's also had some salvos with some crappy RNG, and they managed to miss the superstructure as he was sitting stern on. But also, the Gneisenau, who had 30,000 hit points about a minute and a half ago, actually got rickrolled by the enemy Alsace. So now we're in a 1 versus 1 situation, and it's not looking really good because that Alsace of Bodie McBoatface has a lot of hit points to work with. So, excuse me. So at this point, Citadel is in a bit of a pickle because he's also out of heals and he only has 19,000 HP. And while the Alaska is able to tank those 15-inch shells from the Alsace, it only takes a couple of them to go high into the unarmored bit, by the conning tower, the bow, the stern, above the belt armor. And he's going to be eating some damage. And you can see that Bodhi is on 56,000 HP. Fortunately, however, he did go close enough to be able to radar him and get a good idea of where exactly he's at. And now, down well over 30,000 hit points, here comes the 1 versus 1. The first salvo, high explosive, good to use it because he's going to be able to light the fires. Unfortunately, the DPM is not the best, but at this point, he's going to need every bit of good RNG. And right there, 10,000 damage, just like I said, as he picks up the high caliber with the fire. Even the Alsace that can't overmatch his stern and his bow is able to find those weak bits, and unfortunately chunks him for half of his remaining hit points. So now it's really red alert right here, and then his return salvo does 0 damage. So at this point, it's not looking really good, and you can see in chat the GGs coming in from Kilias, because, I think it's safe to say that if I were in this game and I was watching this, I think it's safe to say that the Alsace should be able to take care of business. But here's the catch. Citadel just got his Admiral Halsey buff coming in. So he gets the Confederate, and now his reload goes down to just over 11 seconds. And this is actually a good point to make, because I'm not a fan of these captains that give you bonuses like this, because not everybody has them, and some of the bonuses are a little bit ridiculous. There's no reason ever for an Alaska to have a reload of 11 seconds. Now, sure, he does have Adrenaline Rush and maybe Main Battery Mod 3. I'm not 100% sure. But these captains allow you to do things that, well, you just, quite frankly, wouldn't be able to do if you had a normal captain in. And I'm not blaming the player, certainly not. Citadel still has to angle and do all this stuff right here and not get killed. But it just feels a little cheap sometimes because this reload boost is really going to help him out. And as I mentioned earlier, the Alaska does not have very good DPM, but now he has better than a Zhao reload, which, comparatively speaking, the Zhao does have quite a bit more DPM than the Alaska does. And he's also getting some pretty good RNG with the fires. You can see those shells coming in. The Alsace is probably sweating some balls right here because his salvo right there with the forward guns only did 1 overpen's worth of damage. And now Citadel has yet another fire burning. So it appears that Alsace does not have fire prevention. So another salvo going in. If it hits the right part of the superstructure, we'll get 3 fires going. Right now, the Alsace is in a little bit of trouble right here. He's also providing too much of an angle for the return with the armor piercing. 9,000 damage that he gives to Bodhi McBoatface. About 4,000 damage right there. He's down to 2,600 HP. Is Boatface going to get the kill here? No, he doesn't. He bounces off the deck, and then he actually burns out, and Citadel clutches the 1v1. Alrighty, guys. Taking a look at the post-battle results. 228,000 damage dealt off of 157 shell hits. He sank 2 enemy ships, had 13 fires, 6 citadels, 1 assisted base capture, and then he also picked up Devastating Strike, Confederate, High Caliber, and Dreadnought in this awesome clutch performance. Taking a look at the team score, well, unfortunately, ReplayWows.com doesn't really give you the base XP for some reason, but if I were a guessing man, I'd say this was pretty damn close to 3K, if not slightly above it, because of how much damage that he did, but also he got the assisted base cap as well, and just did a lot of really good work in this game. So Citadel me, Harder Daddy, thanks for sending in the replay. That was an awesome performance. Regardless of how I feel about those captains that give you extra bonuses at the end of the game, you put it to good use, and you were able to clutch a 1v1 in a situation that you really shouldn't have won, at least on paper. So excellent job micro-maneuvering and making that Alsace miss the salvos, and well done, well-deserved for your clutch game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. I hope you've enjoyed the few Alaska replays that we've put up over the last few weeks. So now, again, if you want to buy it or you're considering it or whatnot, now you have some good gameplay here on the channel to make your decision. So have a great day, folks.